This is so fun.
This is so cute.
Here we go.
Should I push video?
Yeah, go for it. Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is my dear soul sister, Shannon Kobes. Say hi so it goes on you.
Hi.
And so it's solstice. It's like the eve of solstice here in Denver, Colorado, where I am, and Shannon is in LA. And so I looked it up, and the actual solstice time is 2:21 in the morning here. And so we are just decided together with our guides to get on a live and join in a conversation about lots of stuff, soul stuff that comes up. And we really want to invite everyone to ask questions or chime in through the chat too. So I'm going to be watching the chat and us live. So if you've got comments or ideas you want to share while we talk, please feel free to. And so Shannon, welcome. Let me maybe just introduce how we met too, because we just met in Egypt about 2 months ago, only like a little over 2 months ago, 2.5 months ago, 3 months ago. We both went to Egypt and we found each other and we realized we have a lot in common as far as what we do. We both work in the Akashic records. Shannon is an amazing psychic, intuitive. She does readings, and you can actually find her on her website, indigointuition.com. And so we started having so much fun, but also going really, really, really deep with our guides, channeling like within the temples that we were in. We started getting all this very rich information from the records and from the team about like the truth behind what we were seeing, and it totally blew both of us away. So we might talk a little bit about that, but we're going to talk about grace and the solstice and the holidays and anything else. So Shannon, what would you like to start off with? Not to put you on the spot or anything.
Oh, I think it's funny because, both Suzanne and I were sitting here talking about like, so what should the topic be for today? And we were both kind of tuning in, asking, our teams for guidance. And my team, normally they're like, oh yeah, like this should be the topic. And oh, this is what's happening in the collective. And instead of like actually giving direction, they were like, oh, you got this. And I think that's one of the fun things when you're working sometimes and you're really connected. Sometimes they have a lot more faith in like what you're going to do than you do, because you're like, hey, I want the guidance. Give me the guidance. Give me the direction. This is why we have this relationship.
Yeah, I want the full agenda, please.
I was like, we need to tell the people what's happening. And they were very much like, oh, it's fine, just go live, you'll figure it out. And so I just thought that was a really fun little exercise that they're having us do, because I think you experienced something similar too, like when you tapped in, right?
I got one word and I can't even remember it now. Oh, glory. The word is glory. So if anyone knows what that is about, chime in, because otherwise I will, but we'll get something later, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
The glory, probably the glory of the season, the glory of the light returning tomorrow. I mean, I'm always super psyched at the winter solstice because the days start getting longer. And by the time I always mark it by Groundhog Day on February 2nd, then by then I love that holiday for lots of reasons. One is because I had one of the best parties ever when I was living in Washington, D.C., like 30 years ago on that day. But also because it brings the spring back and the light. So anyway, happy solstice, everyone. And I feel like just we're going to revel in the energy of the holidays too, a little bit, the beautiful time that this is, because these dark nights, this darkness has such a purpose too with us to let us go within and experience, something different than we do. But I always kind of like when we start to come out of it too. I'm not gonna lie.
And that's one of the things like that I'm hearing right now is, again, glory being, this remarkable ability to tap into the beauty and joy of a moment, right? Like that's really, at least that's what I'm hearing is like what glory is about. It's being able to tap into that beauty and joy within a moment. And that produces a feeling of glory, like that joy, glory, joy, like they're very connected, I guess. And
Yeah.
And even though for some people, going back to like this darkness, sometimes the holidays can be a dark time for people, and sometimes the holidays can be really hard for people, and they can be struggling with things. But it only takes one moment, just one moment, to be able to pause and tap into your own inner joy, into their own inner beauty of whatever that experience is, to really then switch your perspective about what's happening around you. And like you said, it could just be that the days are going to, here in the Northern Hemisphere, start getting lighter. If that's your moment, if that's the thing that like you connect with, that's going to give you joy, how beautiful is that?
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, this time last year, I was experiencing not such a joyous time. I was alone for Christmas, so I had that experience, and this year it's different. And yet lately, I've actually been in this kind of inner boot camp with my team and my intuition. And one of the along those lines, one of the hugest aha moments that I had was, if it's to be, it's up to me.
Oh my God, totally.
And I actually even called my mom and asked if we still had this. She had a plaque on our kitchen wall that said that. And I forgot it until a few weeks ago. I did a serious deep inner dive, and the message, it's just what you were saying, like it is, if it's to be, it's up to me. I can. And the thing is, we can tap it. We can turn it on. I mean, I know it's not always super easy, but it can be if you want it to be. And
Yeah.
and almost for a lot of us, it's almost imperative to make that happen, because the opposite is not so great, not so fun.
Yeah.
So um maybe that's, yeah.
One little side story, another way that we're, it's so funny that you're saying that exact phrase. And I love that you just brought that up. When I was in high school, I was on dance squad. And, we worked our butts off all year and we went to state finals. We did not win. Which again is super heartbreaking, right? Like when you work really hard and you don't get that outcome that you're working really, really hard for. And I went back to the dormitory that we were staying in, and that exact phrase, that exact saying, if it's to be, it's up to me, was on my door.
Really?
So that's
Oh,
been one of my mottos since high school. So I love that you just brought that up.
wow. Yeah, yeah, that's really cool.
That's really cool. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. Like it can be really hard. But again, can we take that moment? Can we choose? Can we step into a different way of being?
Yeah.
If it's to be, it's up to me.
So it's probably so prominent right now because for both of us, so much of our work is about helping people own their sovereignty
Oh,
and
totally.
own autonomy and their own inner soul heart connection. And so it is only up to me. Of course, we have all this assistance too, but at the end of the day, like, there have been these times where I couldn't receive all the assistance because I was in such a quagmire
Yep.
inside of myself. And so it just like went nowhere. It's like I was Teflon as far as assistance, and certainly felt like I was all alone, even when I wasn't. But there's such a difference now. It's like, I know I'm not alone, but I also still know I'm the driver
Yeah.
of this bus of my life. And I have a lot of help, but um this personal sovereignty, it's actually one of my main themes of my entire life right here. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are re-experiencing that in this lifetime because it's such a time that we're coming into a whole new like interdimensional reality and we're aware of it, but all these psychic skills are online, and owning yourself and your personal responsibility is what makes that actually the most powerful, I think. Now that I've gone through what I've gone through, you're in your power when you do this, and then the sky's the limit with your intuition and your abilities. And so more of that, please, in 2025. Perhaps we should call that in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that is definitely the theme moving forward. Our discernment.
Mhm.
We're stepping into our own sovereignty, which means that we have to have our discernment on point. We have to understand, what our own truth is. We have to understand how we connect with our own truth and how we then live that truth every single moment of our lives. And I think, at least I've seen that, I'm sure you've seen this in your sessions as well, is that that's been a theme for the collective coming forward. And one of the things that I've heard from the many sessions and my own guides is that, 2024 was really like a transitional year. And then moving forward in 2025, it's exactly as you just said, things are going to be speeding up. And when things speed up, what do we need to have on board? We need to have our own discernment. We need to have our own sovereignty. We need to have our own trust in our abilities, because things are going to be coming at us a lot faster. And in order to navigate those times, we need to be able to be fully aligned with who we are.
Mhm. So what are you hearing about 2025?
So I'm like, what do they want to share? So with 2025, again, the speeding up of things.
Mhm.
With 2025, exactly what we were just talking about, that any part of your life in which you're a little, I'm just going to say like wonky, right? Any part of your life that you're a little wonky about is going to be pushed even harder. So you can learn those lessons around discernment. So you can learn those lessons around like self-trust. Because again, as we're moving into like a 5-year, 10-year cycle, with more kind of coming at us, we've got to know again where we stand as our own sovereign beings moving through what's happening as a collective. We're going to be becoming more connected as a collective. And so
Mhm.
what does that mean? How then do we discern what's truly ours and what's somebody else's?
Oh my, yeah, that's gonna be big actually.
Yep.
It already has been big, but for so many people who are in this line of work or doing this kind of thing, that's big, you all. Like, because so many people are empathic. And I have been teaching for a number of years. I don't even like to use that term very much because I think it used to be such a crutch for like, oh, I'm so empathic, I feel everyone's stuff. And I had been taught you don't have to. You do not, and you best not, because it creates such a shit show in you when you do. And I luckily got fully rewired out of that several years ago. And thank goodness, because yeah, that's such a good point. As we become more in unity consciousness and oneness, you have to know who you are to thy know self be true. That's fascinating.
Yeah. Yeah. Have you gotten any other themes or any other hits around 2025?
Um, yes, let me tune in.
Yeah. Right. I love doing the fun. This is so fun, right? Like this is what we do.
It is. And I do see Ram, let's see, Ram is watching, so that's awesome. Okay. 2025. Well, it's the year of the snake. I do know that in terms of Chinese systems. But okay. This is a message I've been getting so strongly actually since we were in Egypt. So I'll share this because this is what they're showing. So in the context of what I do, which is work a lot with activating people into their sovereignty codes and like downloading codes and helping them plug into their souls records and essence, the message has started to become really clear that in the language that I use, so the divine feminine, Sophia, Christ consciousness, if anyone knows the Sophia code, that energy, the mother, the divine holy mother, the glory of her, like they've been saying in different channelings I've been doing in sessions and with friends that we are not even going to, we can't possibly understand what's coming. And you're getting that too, like so much so that when it first came through, it was so fun. I was on a ferry in Greece after our time in Egypt and channeling with a friend, and it had just been the what is it when the sky, the lights in the sky, the northern lights. It had just been that time where the northern lights were everywhere, flooding the earth. And so I was channeling this message, like, you guys really have no idea what's coming. And I'm actually kind of psyched we're talking about this because it feels very relevant, especially to this holy season, and probably the word glory. And so they even said those northern lights are an example of what can be the new reality, that it's actually external to us. Like we've been doing all this inner work to get ourselves open and clear and free. And I've always kind of thought, oh, it's the divine shining through us. That's what it's all about. But it is about that. But it was so clear it's also going to be like, I don't know, maybe colors in the sky or better, or who knows what, but it's like going to be outside of me and visible, and since we're going to sense it. It's something like that raining down. So that's as much as I know, but I have channeled that more than once, enough to know that's coming, like it's big. And so in 2025 right now, they're saying like halfway through the year will be a pivotal point in our evolutionary mindset changes as a collective, our evolutionary mindset time frame. So you might pay attention to changing thoughts and beliefs more. That because that will accommodate this new coming of the Christ consciousness in a like a totally brand new form. So
yeah, it's really fun because I'm like, I agree with what you're saying. Yes, yes to all the things, just all the things. Because like when we start to live our light through, as within, as without, right? As above, as below. So of course we're going to start to see changes, in our physical environment. Of course we're going to see colors more brighter. Of course we're going to see northern lights changes. Mother Gaia her frequency is rising right now. Her consciousness is rising right now. It's forcing everybody on the planet to actually have an up level, not just those who are so-called awake or going through an awakening process. Everybody is going through some sort of time in their life in which the world around them is changing. And you can, call it a dark night of the soul. You can call it, losing your job. You can call it relationships ending. You can call it, whatever you want. It doesn't matter. It's like everybody is going through this turbulent time in one way, shape, or form in order to have what's really reflected on the inside reflected on the outside. And going back to your point, where do we want our beliefs? Where do we want our power to be? Where do we want our consciousness to be? And then have that reflected back to us.
Yeah. And that is like how we create our reality. That's how we stay at the forefront of being in creation mode. And it's just reminding me that I've had people say that they are seeing a lot, they're literally seeing a lot more vivid colors. And I also, it spurs a memory that my guides told me several weeks ago, that to get ready for me to see much more regularly, like when we were in Egypt, it was so high vibe and like that. They said, get ready for me to be able to see a lot more life in full technicolor. So I wonder if that means more than just colors.
Oh my God, totally.
What else is it? Like,
Of course
what,
it does.
yeah. So what else does it is that like senses and
Oh, yeah.
understandings? Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's abilities are getting like turned up. Everybody across the board. Again, I don't care if you call yourself in a woo-woo ability or not. Like everybody's abilities are getting turned up. People who have not necessarily been that empathetic in the past are becoming more empathetic. People who are tapped in and tuned into their psychic abilities now are getting new abilities online. For me, one of the fun things, and again, I've had this before when I do my readings, but not necessarily when I'm just like, I just call like human Shannon walking down the street. But when I'm in my session, it's okay because like side note, side story. Like one time I was doing this session and I was like, oh my God, I taste like really soft water. And like I'm like marching. I tasting soft water and marching. And she's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about either. Like I just taste soft water and I'm marching. And she's like, oh my God, I just started a water aerobics class, And I was like, okay. And so then I'm like, okay, guys, so why am I tasting, she's doing aerobics. Why are you bringing that up? And they're like, oh, well, as she's doing this, she's actually clearing her lifetime as a Roman, who was, in the battlefield and, all this stuff like that. But so in a session, like I have the ability to taste energy. Now, now when I'm like walking down the street, I can start to taste energy as well. I can start to see when things are very electric in like the collective, and I can start tasting that electricity coming in. So I know, right? Like I was walking with my partner,
and you say you're just being human, Shannon, when that's happening. I'm like, well, not so much. Walking your dog.
My partner, and I was like, oh my God, do you taste that? And he's like looking at me like,
oh my gosh.
I'm like, it's so electric. And I'm like, so, yeah, it's really fun.
Oh my God.
So yeah, all of our abilities in some way, shape, or form are going to start to get tuned up, no matter what it is. And it's been fun to watch this and like some of my family members and some of my friends who are not like tapped into the type of work that we do on the daily, because they're like, oh my gosh, like I had this amazing dream and I felt so alive afterwards. And like all of this stuff came up and I was like, I know. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Okay, now I have another theme that's coming through for 2025, and it's based on a session that just happened. Also, it's been a trend. So tell me what you also know, like as far as what's coming, because it's kind of new to me in this context, but 2025 is a 9-year, so that's a completion year in the numerology of it all. And so the session I did was like this stupendous graduation from one of the client's biggest life lessons that she came here for. Like it's not very often that happens, by the way, in the records or with a client, but sometimes it does. And on this day it did, where they're like, she had some very phenomenal, crazy experiences in lucid dream state, and enough to say, wait, I gotta ask what's going on, because it could have been scary. It was weird. It was like interdimensional travel. And so they said it's because she's completed that and they graduated her. But also now what I'm seeing is that's across the board. We're going to see a lot more of that. So completion codes, there would be a way to call it a completion of your own soul contracts that you can for. I haven't seen that. Yeah. Like I haven't seen that so clearly as I am right now for 2020.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of the stuff that we would consider like karma and stuff like that, I mean, it's all getting completed. It goes back to what you're saying, like we are in like a completely new time frame. We're a completely new way of living life. We're in a completely new across the board way of living and interacting with our soul's essence and with everybody around us. The karma is being completed, the lessons are being learned. all of these doors are being shut. So we have a completely wide open opportunity now to create the way we were meant to create as our creator beings, as our own God self, as our own Christ consciousness embodied, going out there and actually living what we think, what we breathe, what we are in our being every single day. We have that ability now. You're absolutely right.
So I want to ask this to people who are listening, because we got a bunch of watchers.
Okay.
Are you at all finding that easier all of a sudden? Like being the creator and staying there? Because for some reasons I have been in the last weeks. So is that new for you too? Maybe you were already there. It took me a while to catch up a little bit more.
No, I truly like, this is going to sound really ridiculous. I get that this sounds ridiculous. I, I really, really like being human. Like, I really like playing the game of like delayed gratification sometimes,
Uh-huh.
right? Like, I really like playing the whole point of us being human is that we have this amazing ability to experience so much, right?
Mhm.
This amazing ability to experience every feeling on this gigantic spectrum, this intense joy, this intense glory to like this deepest, darkest sadness, like all the things. Like it's super gritty,
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, it's fun to play in like that creator being. It's fun to like have things manifest quickly. It's fun to have like this feeling of oneness and connection with everything, as you're walking down the street, and know that there's no difference between you and the homeless person. There's no difference between the lesson, that you're learning and how it's being reflected back to you and your family dynamics. It's fun to have that level of awareness and consciousness. But I do really like being a human and sometimes being like, I'm going to be frustrated right now, and that's going to be fun for me.
Yeah.
I'm going to be pissed off right now, and that's going to be fun for me.
That's, that's such a healthy way to be in it.
Like, and then I'm just like, I'm just going to play my humanness, and it's going to be great, and that's fine. And when I'm ready to like, know that if it's to be, it's up to me, and step into my sovereign being and like live through that heart-centered perspective and that choice, I can do that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Both.
Yeah. I like living by both. So yes, yes, it's totally fun to be a human, I think.
Yeah. I'm seeing the temperance card right now, like when the angel that has one foot on the earth, one foot in the water, both. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Beautiful. I have come into that. It's taken me a while. I grew up being like that, Shannon, but then I went through so much trauma, and then I'm back into that again, thankfully, which it's glorious actually to be back in that mode, I will say. Yeah, like back in oh yeah, this is so powerful to be in this body.
Yeah, it is. It is so, you're absolutely right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. It is so powerful to be in this body, and it is so amazing to be in this body at this time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it really is. It
Mm-hmm.
really, truly is.
Mm-hmm. It is. Oof. Yeah. Ooh, the glory of it all. I think it's about, right? The glory of all of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It took me a long time to come around to that, to it, like allowing the hard stuff to even be glorious or even okay.
Yeah.
So,
Was there a time, like, was it a switch for you of like, or was there an experience that you had that like helped you move more into that presence?
mm, well, it's really interesting because, like, interestingly, I lived in that, like in school and college, and for a while after that, well, for a long time after that, but um then things got really, really hard starting in 2009, and it all kind of went away. Like a whole slew of stuff, and trauma came up and stuff like that. So I would say it was a long, dark part where that was very difficult. I would have I would have times of it, but it was hard to grasp. And part of that is because I had all these limiting beliefs that I have since worked through. And I wanted to say something, and then I'll keep going because Ram Johnson is saying what's happening with the throat chakra right now. And so to anyone who's feeling anything, if you're feeling anything energetically, it's because this is a lovely high vibe discussion. And if you're hearing something and allowing it in, perhaps with the throat, allowing it as a new truth, you're it's my sense you're receiving a bit of clearing and adjustment based on what we're talking about. But I would also tune in to yourself or share more. But when we talk about this stuff, because of who Shannon and I are, and we work with energy, and our guides, all your guides are here, everyone's guides are here. I can feel that there's an adjustment with the throat, and probably also because we're talking about the coming year, and so it's clearing out some old debris too, is part of it too. Do you get anything else with that?
No, I completely agree with you that there's an adjustment going on.
Yeah.
And part of this is they're reminding you just how Suzanne and I just jumped on here and we didn't know what we were going to say. We didn't know what we were going to talk about. They're saying that for you, it's like, it's okay if you don't know what to say. It's okay if you don't know what you're going to talk about. It's okay if you don't know how to express this. You just have to start doing it and continue to clear this out for you. And that goes for anybody who's listening. They're saying to use us as an example. Like, sometimes you just really don't know. You don't have to know what to say, but doing it actually help move some of that energy for you.
And you don't have to understand it.
Yeah.
It's pretty strong. I feel it quite a lot now. Yeah. It's a new timeline. It's an ascension timeline getting created for whoever's listening, because like what happens is that you hear what we're talking about, and if you're in accordance and your soul and your heart are like yeah, and your mind, then it's an opportunity, and your systems get into alignment with this perhaps new truth, or this truth, or whatever is right for you at this time. So I'm delighted to hear that that's getting passed around the circle.
And do you mind if I drop into a little bit of light language wants to come through? And if you want to join me with some light language, like let's do it. So just it'll just be a moment, just a little bit more. Ready?
Ooh, that just shifted all through. Oof.
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Thank you. Do you want to explain what you did? Nope.
I just opened my mouth and let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah. However people receive that.
Yep.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What I'm doing right now is a download based on the clearing. I'm assisting everyone who is in accordance with this. And I will always say that because it's your own free will. If you're saying yes to this internally, or you've said yes, there's nothing mandated. It is purely your own free will, but there's a download now coming through from your higher self chakra and your Akashic records into rewrite whatever you're rewriting right now. So hallelujah and Merry Christmas with that, with all of it.
It's so open right now, right? Like you filled it.
Yeah. Yeah. New codes, new ascension, truth. Actually, I
code.
Like what we're talking about, like we were saying, you best be like in your sovereignty and your knowing, and it's actually to help that.
Yeah.
Please, you guys are amazing. Yes, more like that, more like that, more like that. Um, so wait, I'll go back and finish. So, 'cause you had asked what changed.
Oh,
To me,
yeah.
it was like it was a whole lot of series of divine intervention that kept at it with me because I needed it because I had a lot of trauma. So I was very stuck in my old thinking. And so it was a lot of divine intervention that I kept listening to. And I had to really push through. I kept pushing through. And it was, though, very instrumental this a few weeks ago, this journey, this deep journey I did that where I got the message finally in this way, if it is to be, it's up to me. And it was in the fact that it had been on my kitchen wall when I was growing up was like, I don't know, that meant so much. And it's like, yeah, it is. It really, really is. I can't afford to be doinking around anymore. Like I really can't with thinking anything else. And so that finally reached me, and it was one of the pivotal times where I'm like, okay, I get it, and hallelujah. And it really has transformed so much within me. So
Mhm.
I would say, when in doubt, you just keep doing, keep going. Because if you're like I was so driven to figure it out, then you will get the answers, you will figure it out
Mhm.
um, on your own timeline. And that was my timeline. So, I mean, I've gone up and down, up and down, up and down. It's not like I was in the dark for constantly, but it was a lot.
Yeah, and I think you said something really important there. That you were being, divinely guided, right? And so
Mhm.
like if it's to be, it's up to me. It is totally up to you. Your own free will choice, your own free will action, your own free
Yeah,
will investment in your own well-being.
yeah.
And then know that you have an entire team, an entire support system, an entire guidance system that is
Mhm.
supporting you along that way the entire time. And they're leaving you breadcrumbs. You just have to be like open to see it and then follow it. You have to take that divinely guided action along with it.
Yep. Spirit meets us in the point of action is one of my favorite teachings from a friend. Yeah. And isn't it fascinating? Like the message I got from Spirit, who is helping me, it's, hey, it's up to you. Because there was part of me like I always say, like holding my arm out to get an IV drip, like expecting it to just happen. And I think that's one of the hardest things these days about being spiritually connected, because it's like it's not hard to expect that something will change just because we say a prayer or ask for it. But
Really.
it does sometimes. And a lot of times though, it's like, well, here, let me guide you to how to do it yourself. And that's what they've done.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing system we got going.
Oh, it totally is. It absolutely is.
Yeah. Um, okay, there's some more. Let's see. Oh, good. Some people are saying they felt that little zhuzh that we did, or big zhuzh. And Debbie says 2024 was a lot of changes. What does 2025 look like? So I don't know, Debbie, if you heard the whole thing, because we did share at the beginning a lot of what we were getting about 2025. So we won't repeat that. But yeah, what your question already answers it. Bigger changes and faster. And the key is to know yourself and know your truth. I've no doubt that's why our political stuff going on is so convoluted, because it's just this like distraction from, well, you're going to know your own truth for yourself, for your own body, your own life, all different things. It's the timing of it is impeccable, really. As much as I don't love it, it's impeccable.
It is. And like when we again pair knowing our own truth, right? And some of the ways that we can do that, one of the things that I always like to do, and again, I understand that I may be a little bit different, is I always say, like, is this mine or is this somebody else's? When I have something kind of going in for me. And I always, whatever that first ping is for me, oh yeah, this is mine.
Mm-hmm.
That's really my truth.
Yeah.
That's somebody else's. Okay, I can drop that off at the doorstep. I don't need to think about that anymore. I don't need to hold that pain in my body anymore, anything like that. That's
Mm-hmm.
not mine. I can let that go. And then I move forward pretty quickly with knowing that. Or else sometimes I'll decide, like, this is one of the exercises that somebody's guides brought in once when I was doing a session, is, if you really don't know, like, what the truth of a situation is or the truth of a matter. And again, truth always depends on perspective. It's always like what we're looking at it. You can actually picture that experience, picture that thought, whatever it is, in like this lovely little bubble. And then you can try to bring it into your heart center and just be like, if this is really meant for me, if this is something that I need to take action on, if this is aligned with me, have it truly merge with my being so I can feel the energy of it. If not, you'll feel that resistance and you'll be like, then I give it back to source with love.
Ooh, that's beautiful. Oh my gosh. Wow. So say that, like, how do you manifest it in your hands? Like, just for a little more, because that's like,
I think again, everybody can do it differently. Whatever way you want to do it, you can. The way that I've been shown, the way that I do it, is I picture like the experience, like almost as if I'm an outside observer, right? Like right in my hands, and like kind of almost like a crystal ball. It doesn't have to be that way. If you're seeing it as a shape, like a star, a heart, a different color, a ball of energy that swirls around, whatever works for you. But I see it as almost like a little crystal ball, and that thought form, that pain, that experience, whatever it is, right inside of it. I'm the outside observer watching it. And if this is really mine, if this is meant for me, if this is it, I'm going to pull it into my heart center. I'm going to feel the energy of it. And I'm going to trust my inner guidance. I'm going to trust my sovereign being. I'm going to trust my ability to make a free will choice, to then act on it based on what I'm feeling able to do in that moment. If there's any resistance, if it's like, I return that back to source with love.
yeah, yeah. With all the beings involved, if there's any other beings, I've been doing that a lot more lately, like just forgiving any being who created whatever it is. Everyone is absolved, and it liberates everything. That's been more and more prominent and important in this work too. Because because of the oneness we're coming into, like, we're doing it for everyone.
We're doing it for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me see if there's any other. Okay. So we have a little bit of time. I want to ask you, Shannon, do you want to share anything about our time in Egypt that comes to mind at all?
We're going to have to do like an entire, I'll be sitting here talking
like a monologue series.
like a whole series on like what we experienced in Egypt together, because we'll just do like a little teaser, a little taste. So we can talk about it at another time if people are interested,
Yeah.
It's like, what did two Vikings walking around Egypt do?
Yeah.
What was that like?
What did it actually channel? Yeah, because we channeled different things. It was fascinating to channel different things. Yeah.
It was absolutely fascinating. I will say something, again, we could talk about the experiences more at another time. But one of the things that I will say about Egypt and our experience together is that it was such a joy to meet you. And so often, even though we're in like the healer community and the healer space, not every healer is, I don't want to say get you or on the same level or supportive of what you do and how you do it or who you are as an individual. And so it was so beautiful and so amazing just to have the experience to sit next to you on the ferry, on the Nile. I remember when we were sitting right next to each other and you're like, I do Akashic Records. I'm like, I do Akashic Records. We're like, oh my God. And we were just both so genuinely excited. So genuinely excited to meet another soul sister.
Yes.
Without any any jealousy or without any like, oh, I do it this way, you do it that way. Like we're like, I was like, oh, what do you wait, like what really lights you up in the records? And Suzanne has this amazing work that she does with therapists and like really training a lot of therapists to get in touch with their intuition and like really specializing on that, which is so ridiculously needed. And it's so beautiful, the work that she's doing with these healers that are in this other traditional space. And I was like, oh my God, I was like, give me your information. I've got clients I can refer to you, and so it was so great to just have such an open-hearted, beautiful soul experience with you. So I would say out of all the amazing things that we experienced and seen and felt and everything, I truly believe that that was life-changing for me.
Oh my gosh, sister, it's so my honor. Thank you. I know, and I knew we were we were on the Nile in front of the Temple of Isis.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, Kismet. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. And yeah, I mean, just like then what happened, it's like that whole thing when two or more gather. It's the connection started allowing me and you we could be so free flowing, and we just started seeing a whole different truth for me, a whole different truth of what ancient Egypt was and how cosmic it was and alienist like it was, and so many
so fun, so yummy.
Thank you. And I do want to say too, your website is here, indigo-intuition.com. So people check Shannon out, and she does amazing sessions too. So if you feel the call, do a session for the new year, and she'll help you with whatever you need. So yeah, I think we could pick different topics. I think I will just share one of the best experiences with you there was at the Temple of Sekhmet. And I know it's still going to keep evolving why that's so powerful, but that was pretty early on in Luxor. And it was just like suddenly so clear how otherworldly everything was in a way that I never imagined. Because I never really watched Ancient Aliens or any of that stuff. And so it was kind of good to go into it with no understanding or expectation, and then to be shown like especially that one, right? Those massive pillars. And we just walked around and we kept being shown like, this is what this hieroglyph means. This is what that really means. And it was so magical. I'm sure we could spend like 10 years going and deciphering everything, but it's all this high vibe code that we were definitely so in sync with the code, right? And that'll still be unraveling. What we do with that. I know it activated the heck out of us too. Yeah. Well, any last thoughts that your team might be bringing through, or you'd like to share for this solstice night?
Let me see. As the day goes dark one more time, one of the things we'd like to say is that this is a time for you to sit back and reflect on the darkness that you've experienced in your life, reflect on the darkness that you experienced in your life as it is today, reflect on the darkness that you feel around you, because as you know, the next day, dawn is breaking, and that darkness will no longer be around you. That darkness will no longer be held within your body. That darkness will no longer be held within your soul. That darkness is truly broken by the dawn coming of light. So when we say go into the solstice and understand what it means to sit in the dark, we say understand what it means to sit in your own darkness. Understand that this is not scary, that this does not have to take long to process, that this does not have to be a whole big ordeal of a long, dark night of the soul. What we say is that there is always a new dawn, there is always a new tomorrow. And as the sun rises and the next day and the next day and the next day, you truly have a new beginning each and every day. So tap into your own sun, tap into your own soul, tap into your own light, because the light will always show you the way in the dark.
Wow. Thank you. It always will. It always does. No matter how hard it is. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's beautiful. Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end as the weekend. Thank you so much, sister. We'll be back. Pretty sure we'll be back with a lot more. So thank you.
And if you guys have ideas on like what we can talk about or what you want to see, like please drop them in whatever those comments are, because we're just
drop them in as a comment to this in the community field, the community stream also. So we'll be back. All right. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and share this video with other people. I'm not really on social media, so I don't know like all the things. Like click and subscribe to Suzanne's channel.
Yes, subscribe so these pop up. Yeah.
Share this video with others. Please leave a comment. Let us know what you thought. Again, I'm not really big on social media, so I will watch this video and see what all you have to say.
Like it. Yes, we'll be seeing you all here very soon in the new year, I'm sure. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Shannon. It's so delightful to partner with you.
So fun.
All right. Namaste, everyone. Be the light.